You're watching Teng Tools Muscle Garage, the home of New Zealand's toughest muscle cars, hot rods and street machines. Muscle Garage is proudly brought to you by Teng Tools in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Niedercar. Coming up, we meet the most supercharged club in the land, the Wanganui Road Rodders, and slicing and dicing Studebakers with Trev Halstead from Custom and Classic Restorations. But first, the crew from Maguire's sent us to check out Dion's blown 68 Pro Street Charger.
When I was young, I started working at a earth-moving machinery place, and they were all car enthusiasts, and it just sort of snowballed from there. They all had big, powerful cars. A guy in a workshop next door had a blow-in 55 Chev that I used to oogle over quite a lot, and then just progressively have met more car mates, and it's just snowballed. Obsession, yeah. Yeah, look, I love the camaraderie, the friendship, helping people out and having people around helping us out. I try and do as much as we can sort of in the shed. But yeah, just the lifestyle as well, I suppose. Yeah.
A couple of chefs got the ball rolling, but ultimately would make way for this: Dion's entry into the world of Mopar.
It was just a dream car. I started off like every other kid, I suppose, and watched the Dukes of Hazzard, then identified the difference between the different models and just fell for the 68. The opportunity arose, and I thought if I don't do it now, I'll never do it, so away we go. I've always liked pro street vehicles. I did test drive a couple of other Mopars beforehand, and they didn't quite measure up. I flew down to the South Island and yeah, just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. Took it for a spin, and the deal was done. It's a 1968 Dodge Charger. Has a 440 engine, which has been bored and stroked to about a 451. It's running an 871 supercharger, 727 trans, which is a full manual valve body, reverse shift pattern, billet and roller everything pretty much. 4-inch drive shaft, 8 3/4 sure grip rear end, which is pretty much a locker, and some 31 spline axles.
You're probably wondering, why such a tough setup on a street car? We did too, for about 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I've broken a lot of bits and pieces. Most of it was mine, some of it was a friend's engine. Sorry, Phil. And yeah, it's just been made stronger, so everything we've broken, we've sort of progressively raised the bar and made it stronger, so hopefully we can minimise the damage next time. I like the stance, I like the profile tyres, like fat looking rear end, I like a big engine. Pro street sort of is what appeals to me, so I've tried to stick with that, but retain the original body shape and everything else that went with it. A lot of Mopar enthusiasts were horrified when I told them I was going to hack a hole in the bonnet and put a supercharger in it. Everyone had an opinion, which I valued dearly, and yeah, I progressed and did chop a hole in the body. They suggested maybe doing a fiberglass hood, but yeah, I just wanted it all steel, and yeah, it is what it is. I just wanted it to be streetable first and foremost. It's got to have a purpose to be able to drive to the shop, do a family trip to the beach, or take it down the strip, or do some skids. So yeah, fit for everything really.
The skids aren't what you'd call a passing phase. This is a man who mows his lawns around a purpose-built burnout pad in the backyard. It comes in handy too, when once a year he throws a not-so-little gig called the Scrap Palace Morrinsville Burnouts.
Look, we did it just a small square pad just so we had somewhere to go initially and have a bit of a play. There used to be a burnout competition in Morrinsville that Road Markers Hot Rod Club did, and for whatever reason it got knocked on the head. and we just thought there's an opportunity here, so we made the pad a little bit bigger, and yeah, just progressed from there. Yeah, it's probably not what everyone does, and I'm not sure what we're going to do with the place when it's time to sell, but yeah, it's good, it's convenient, it's good for friends to have somewhere to come and have a little bit of a play so they're not misbehaving on the roads. Yeah, maybe obsessive is a pretty good description.
So with a burnout pad out back and one tough charger in the shed, you could say the bug has bit pretty bad. But that's just fine by him.
It's really addictive, yeah. It's I just need one of those for the car, or one of these, or to do that it'll make it better, and it snowballs pretty rapidly, but I think there's plenty of worse addictions out there that you could have, and yeah, it's nice to have something to cruise around in at the end of the day that I admire and get a few nice comments about. The road trip is as much of the journey to me as actually going to wherever we're going, so yeah, as long as we've got a park where I can see the vehicle, it's all good and we'll take it.
And thanks to Maguire's, your ride can look sharp too. Stay tuned to find out how you can win big a little later in the show. Okay, thanks to our mates at Need a Car, it's time to catch up with the NZHRA affiliated club where the Superchargers almost outnumber people, the Wanganui Road Rodders.
Wanganui Road Rodders, a very diverse club. We have a fantastic club membership of over 60. It's been that way for quite a few years. It started in 1973.
Right from the start, we were open to having a big variety of cars. Not everybody was into just pre-49s or Chevys or everything, so we sort of opened it up.
We've got guys that race drag cars, circuit cars, we've got the hot rod enthusiasts, the show cars, and then we've got the street rods.
Top pre-49 cars that have won top awards in New Zealand to drag guys, to the street machine guys.
Classic cars, hot rods, rat rods, and just your general New Zealand Holden Fords with blowers on them. There's quite a few cars with blowers on in this club, and that's what we're known for, I think, around the traps, is the amount of blowers in Wanganui.
Probably just something in the water, yeah. I think with running the Wanganui drags, bit of a speed thing, and still old school, it's cool, it's out the bonnet.
There is a fair bit of competition, but I think that's healthy competition, but everyone helps each other out. If they've got issues on the day, then everyone pitches in to say, this is the problem, fix that, do this, do that. And I think it seems to work.
Assembled at the Wanganui Road Rodders club rooms at the northwest end of town, that variety sure makes for quite the lineup. But the cars alone aren't the success story behind the Road Rodders' longevity.
Some of the guys will say the cars are the stars, but I think this club, it's all about the people. You know, it doesn't matter if you drive a $200 junker or a $200,000 show beast, you know, everyone's treated the same. As long as you get on with everybody else, you're more than welcome at the club.
The cars are important, but the people are just as important because it's a very social thing. We've got quite a social climate, a very social club. Some of our members haven't got cars on the road, or they've just got an interest in cars.
That whole community of people with a like interest that help each other out. Now, I know a lot of people want to do individual memberships and all that sort of thing, but yeah, I think you miss out. You just miss out on a lot of community-based spirit, you know?
You only get out of a club what you put into it, so that's always been my motto, and I think it's one you stick with.
The Wanganui Road Rodders are a familiar sight at events around the country, but they also put on a few themselves. One of just 2 clubs still running street drags, they make good use of community support, allowing them to close off Taupō Key each year. The drag's now in their 31st year and attracting competitors from far and wide. There's a couple of new ones to add to the calendar too. The River City Park Up and an annual run dedicated to a friend who's passed on.
Ian Hooper Memorial Run, he was a vice president for the club for nearly 40 years, you know, he passed away early last year. Ian also supplied all the timber for the club rooms. When we built the club rooms back in the early 80s, Ian was off a farm in Waverley, so cut down some macrocarpers and sent them to the mill, and that was all the trusses, all the timber work in the clubs, all donated by Ian. They've been here for a while and they're well used.
We're proud of the club, we're proud of what we've got, and we're proud of the membership, and I think the genuine members that you know really appreciate it and want to be part of it are a part of it, and that's all you can ask for.
you're back with Teng Tools Muscle Garage, proudly brought to you by Teng Tools, in association with Mount Shop, Maguire's and Niedercar. Right, thanks to Niedercar, we're back to check out the cars of Wanganui Road Rodders, a club proudly obsessed with all things old and fast.
Mum said the first word I said was car, it wasn't mum or dad. To try and rub that off on other people is neat. It's a disease, and if they catch it, well, it's fantastic, you know.
Every car is different, so that what makes it interesting for every member of the club to show off what they like and tell everybody about it, basically.
And when you have this kind of lineup and a home base with plenty of parking, even a low-key get-together like this one starts looking an awful lot like a car show.
We're lucky with the weather and the sun's out, of course, in Wonga Vegas, so it never rains much.
They're here, we're here, so let's check out some cars. With this club, you'd better bet we're going to start with something with some metal sticking out of the hood. So why not Club Pres Tristan's Monaro?
Okay, yeah, so this is my 1968 GTS Monaro. I've owned it for many years now, 12, 13 years. When I bought it, it had an injected Commodore motor in it, and just didn't like the looks of it or anything about it. I was real old school, so we chucked that out and went down to Pro Parts and found some money and ended up with this big blowing thing. Slowest car of the family, but it still cuts a 10.6 second at 130 miles an hour. 383 small block, supercharged, tough trans, 9-inch fab diff, discs on the rear, and yeah, it's just a cool street car really.
On to Gillian and Doug's bonus next. By all appearances, one very slick Sunday cruiser. But no, when in Wanganui,
It's got a 402 big block with a 671 blower and two 750 double pumper Hollies on it. It's a 1949 Ford bonus. It was in a shed that had chooks living in it when we got it, so it was in a bit of a state when we towed it home. We gave it a full rebuild. We've taken 4.5 inches out of the roof. The totra that's in there was from the posts that held up the running rail at the Waverley Racecourse, and they were in the ground for 120 years holding that running rail up, and now they're in our truck. The leather came from Wanganui. We had Grant Rivers of River Speed and Spears. They did the engineering and the mechanical work, and Rod Sklinars of Rod's Repairs did the panel beating. Yeah, we're really pleased it's come up really, really good.
It'd been raced in California before it came to New Zealand, raced down south. It was hugger orange with big ugly flared guards. So I drove it like that for 6 years while my kids were growing up, and then I thought it was time to do the real resto. So basically thought it would take about 12 months. Well, 5 years later and a whole lot of money, it's turned out like it is. All stock running gear, I like to keep the car stock, and obviously a bit of extra gas in the boot. I put a drop tank in it to get me from A to B. But it's been to Beach Hop, it's been to Marine Land, it's been to the Snow Run. So I've tried to take it as many places as I can take it, but it's a joy to drive any day of the week.
Willie's Chev hauler needs a little introduction. You've probably seen it at your local hot rod show, no matter where in the country you live. Safe to say he's well past running it in.
A 48 Chevy cab over, done 35,000 k on LPG, and I've decided to put it back on petrol, so I've just put a new set of Edelbrock alloy heads on it and manifold and quick fuel carb, and she's going a lot quicker now. It actually skids the back wheels now, so that's good. It's been up and down the country from way up Auckland right down to Christchurch and all places in between. Debuted at the Beach Hop in 2014, and now she's got stone chips, but hey, that's what it's all about. Drive it, you know.
Flying the flag for the pre-49 hot rods on the day, Greg and his Juice Roadster.
Got an LS1 engine in it. I've got a Duval windscreen on it, which looks a little different than the normal 32 windscreens. The Juice Customs body. It does what I want it to do for me. And we've had a lot of miles out of it, a lot of fun events out of it. It gets along quite well, yeah, and believe it or not, it's quite cheap to run, you know, as far as some of the cars go. On something that looks good and goes well and reliable. It is an addiction, really. It's one of those things that you sort of, something bites you and you just go for it and do it.
Motorsport and motoring in general has a strong presence in Wanganui, and 4+ decades down, the Road Rodders will continue to be a driving force behind that, both on the track and the street.
Oh, it's fantastic, you know, and yeah, it's like you say, I'm immensely proud of it, and that's just the passion you've got for it, you know, and to make sure it works, and that's what makes us who we are, and why we're such a diverse club with so many different cars, you know, and that's the best part of it. It's just the dedication they have to the club and what keeps us going and keeps us going so strong.
Right, thanks to our mates at Mount Shop, it's time to get our shed raid on. This week, we head to Ahaupo to drop in at Custom and Classic Restorations, the home of Studebaker slicer and dicer, Trev Halstead.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, initially I was building choppers when I lived in Oamaru and Dunedin many years ago. About 1971, 72, I had a family, so we decided we needed a car. I went to a car sales in Dunedin and I looked at two cars. One was a 56 Ford Custom Line V8 and one was a 57 Studebaker, which was a side valve 6. I wanted the V8, but the Studi was about $50 cheaper, so I ended up buying the 57 Studi. Not long after that I got offered a bullet nose, my original bullet nose, and I got that for $40, and that's when the Studebaker love affair started. I've never changed after 45 years or so. But I still describe them as an American car because they still look like an American car, but it's hard to say, just something that's different, something that stands out. Especially if they're built nicely, they can really catch the eye, you know. The bombers and the 47s, etc., were designed around 1942. They had a motto at the thing which was first by far with a post-war car. And of course they came from the aero industry, you know, the aircraft shape, jets and things like that influenced the time, you know.
So what does a Studebaker obsession look like? In Trev's case, he lost count after 60. But that's not to say they've all been stellar examples to begin with.
If I've got a really good one, I don't usually hack it up. Or something that's quite rare, I don't tend to sort of chop and hack around. The cars that I chop tend to be cars that have, probably go into the scrap anyway, you know, or they're going to be parted up. And it's just a challenge to build them, you know, and it's a bit of a buzz when you get them finished, and they're, you know, the people's comments about them. Some people love them, some hate them, but you know, you'll get a result and an opinion from someone anyway.
Breaking new ground in the custom world isn't easy. Even when throwing around pioneering names like Barris, Winfield or Hines, there were plenty of misses to go with the hits. History has also given us plenty of go-to cars, ones that lend themselves to customization. The iconic silhouette of a chopped 49 to 52 Merc is hard to argue against, and there's plenty of Chevs and Fords to reference. Studebakers, not so much.
Yeah, well, there's no book to tell you how to do it because there's not a lot of them done. I like to do what I think looks good, you know, and what appeals to me. It mightn't necessarily appeal to others. From my little 47, which was a four-door sedan, we ended up as a radical custom tiny little coupe. It had a totally different chop to the 51 four-door sedan bomber, and then the 52-door. You know, they're just different, and each one was made to look different because I didn't want them to look the same. You know, like you get a whole lot of Mercs all lined up, and they can look just about identical because this is the way Gene Winfield did it, so that's the way we're going to do it forever. But I tend to like to be, you know, a little bit off base a bit.
You could call Trev something of an ambassador for the brand here in New Zealand, a regular sight in the Beach Hop Top 5 in custom form, or staying true to the factory cues like this year with his 56 Skyhawk. Either way, with 60 plus to his name, more customer cars in the build and a stockpile of parts, he's not confident of shaking the addiction anytime soon.
There's a big buzz you get out of it, especially the first time you start it or the first time you drive it. When you drop the body back on the chassis, or when you get the coat of paint on the lacquer on the outside, you know. There's sort of steps. It doesn't all happen at once because they're usually done over a period of 2 or 3 years, so it's just a graduation. So each time you complete a section of it, you get a bit of a kick out of it and you move on to the next bit. I think because I've been mucking around with Studies for 45 years, I've sort of learnt most about them. I don't claim I know everything, but I think I've got it pretty well covered on doing stuff for myself. Not everyone can build cars, and a lot of people work very hard to pay people to build cars for them, and I acknowledge that. I used to think in the old days, oh, if you didn't build it yourself, it's no good, you know, but that's a thing of the past now. I don't think as many Kiwi guys are building cars like they perhaps used to in the 60s and 70s. I'll spend 10 hours to do something myself rather than pay someone to do 2 hours. I'd rather do it myself, even if it means I have to go through a learning curve to do it.
Every week, we're giving our viewers the chance to win a Teng Tools and Maguire's gift pack worth $250. Simply go to themotorhood.com and follow the Teng Tools Muscle Garage link. Plus, by entering our weekly draws, at the end of the series, one lucky viewer will win a Teng Tools 460-piece automotive toolkit, a complete Maguire's car care pack, and a $500 Mount Shop voucher. The total value of this grand prize is almost $5,000. Good luck, everyone. Teng Tools Muscle Garage was proudly brought to you by Teng Tools, get organised. Mount Shop, undercar specialists. Maguire's, people who love cars love Maguire's. And Need a Car, the easy way to research and buy cars online.